Welcome to another episode of A Graceful Touch Speaks Out, where we bring to you industry thought leaders in a variety of different areas within the full body health and wellness. And today I have the distinct privilege and pleasure of bringing before you Andrea Mason. And I was just in the process of reviewing the title. I think this is an amazing title. I think this is going to be a great presentation. Achieve personal freedom through the healing power of forgiveness. Andrea, welcome to the call.
Thank you so much, Guy. Thank you, audience, for having me. It's an honor and privilege to be here on Graceful Touch. I am so privileged. Yes, my name is Andrea Mason, and I am excited to be here. So let's jump into it.
Awesome. That's quite a title that you gave me. Because just the word forgiveness, if you would have titled this just the power of forgiveness, it would have been an awesome title right there. But you built so much more into this.
Yes.
Let me ask you just a little bit. What, if you were only going to pull forward one aspect of this amazing title, which one would you lean on first?
One aspect of the title in itself?
Yeah. And why?
I would say exceeding our potential, achieving personal freedom. Why? Because we can forgive. Society tells us sometimes to forgive and forget. But when you forgive and you heal from the forgiveness wholeheartedly, you achieve personal freedom. Lewis B. Smedes said, and I'm going to paraphrase, to forgive is to only release the prisoner, but only to realize that the prisoner is oneself. And that has been the foundation, the cornerstone, if you will, that has brought me to where I am today.
So I think what you just showed me is you're not going to get personal freedom without that forgiveness aspect. So I think you just showed me is we can't break this title apart because you can't have one element without having the other. It's got to work together as a synergetic whole. Are we on the right track?
Absolutely. Yes.
So how does this work? So do I forgive so that then I receive personal freedom and liberty, or do I go for personal freedom and liberty and knowing that as I forgive, I will receive? I mean, how does this work?
Well, it's funny you mention that. There's many layers as anything else, strategies and techniques to do it. But what has brought me to understand, in order to achieve personal freedom, you have to go through the healing power of forgiveness. So what does that mean? Individuals, and my decades and degrees of social work and psychology prior to my current status, I have learned that we have the misconception that when we forgive someone, we're giving them permission that what they did to us was justified. What they did to us was correct. What they did to us was deserving, and we should not face it. And I say, if you don't face your past will continue to chase you. And what happens is when we deal with it head on and we look at the word forgiveness, we're looking at giving the other opportunity, the other individual, the other incident, the other occurrence to allow ourselves to shift and put an alternate perspective on it. What do I mean by that? Well, we can look at it a different way. The first way, what society has taught us, is that they did something out of jealousy, out of deceit, out of negativity, out of intention. But what I've learned through the science of psychology and the diversity and culture of social work, that it's based on the lifestyles, the upbringing, the environment, and the tactics that one learns. So, in other words, if someone does us wrong, there's two opportunities there that we can look at perspective as being the recipient or the victim of, per se, of abuse, bullying, or harm. We could look at one side of the coin as this person just is very mean, very negative, and just outlashes on other individuals out of jealousy, envy, or to seek attention. But there's another aspect to it. What I've learned in my careers is that we don't look at it as this person may have never been confronted on what they did was wrong, or that's all they've known. That's all that they observed, or that's all they experienced. So when we have those double and dual perspectives, we can make an informed decision by looking at a few things, looking at their behaviors, looking at their traits, and looking at their intellect and their knowledge and surroundings. So we take the pressure of the blame game, shame game, as how dare you, how could you, I'm not worthy of it. And we also take that's all I deserve, maybe I was seeking attention, maybe I was right. And we put a clear lens on it to understand what was happening. And one of the ways to achieve personal freedom through the healing power of forgiveness is looking at the situation and saying, okay, this was unfortunate. This was temporary. What in the moment can I learn from it? What is the takeaway message? And if it is truly impactful, am I bold enough and brave enough in a civil, respectful manner to address it to the individual and say, I don't appreciate that. This is what you have done. To highlight and to spotlight, to make them have recognition that this act of behavior or whatever the incident may be, to put it in their forefront, in their perspective, and say this is not right.
Okay, so let's say we do that,
Right.
and their response is, talk to the hand, I ain't listening.
Okay.
At this point, then, would we have the ability, hey, look, I offered forgiveness, I offered grace, I offered that it was rejected, therefore now I'm going to hold them accountable to it, and that door is now closed. Is that the way we approach it?
Well, we don't want to go it in a negative 10 because remember, anything we put out there, we return. So if we get the rejection, the hand dismissing it, the individual is not taking accountability or responsibility of it, we still have the choice, and not making a choice is a choice. We still have the choice to say, all right, not worth my time, move on. But what the key is here, Guy, is that if we don't forgive that person, whether we've asked for forgiveness and they didn't receive it, we still say, I forgive them. Next time down the road, it could be 10 months, 10 years, 20 years, you meet another individual who has similar traits, you've already shut that door on that individual because it reminds you of somebody who's done you harm. And you're putting into the universe, into your future, any one person with those similar attributes, traits, even if it's their clothing, their tone of voice, or their nonverbal cues, we are compartmentalizing and categorizing that person as someone I can't trust, someone who's going to do me wrong, someone who's going to hurt me, that is never going to accept my forgiveness for them. It really goes into introspective of taking ownership. They did something to me. It's unfortunate. I'm not going to let someone else's pain become power over me. And that's the key point. Don't give other people permission to have power over you, because if you do hold grudges, if you do take away in a negative content or context, that will be carried with you going forward in your future.
I find that very interesting. I have a personal dynamic that is actually dealing with this. Mm-hmm. And what I've found in my own situation is I've extended the olive branch, shall we say, It
Right.
extended the freedom. It's been rejected. I've
Mm,
let the individual know, you know what? At such a time as you're ready,
mm,
and it might take a lifetime, but at such a time as you're ready, I'm more than willing to mend these fences, to
mm,
reconcile these differences, to,
mm.
and, you know, it might take a lifetime. It may
Right.
never happen.
Right.
But I find, personally speaking, like what you're saying, as I do that, I have the freedom. I have the
Mm,
liberty. Because
right.
you haven't, you sort of delved into it a little bit. Maybe we'll explore this a little bit. But if I instead choose, all right, well, I'm going to take this attitude. I'm going to, I'm going to get all pent up inside and whatnot. Doesn't that do something to my health?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. So, if I may share a brief story. I lost my mother. Well, I'm adopted from Colombia, but I lost my adoptive mother in 2007. And I just kind of pushed it aside, pushed it aside, pushed it aside. And my spiritual faith was tested. How could you take another mother from me? How could she go through so much pain and suffering for me to observe that and witness that? Well, due to the suppression and just going into grind mode, taking care of my family and everybody else, 9 years later, I ended up in the ICU unit for over a
Uh-huh.
week with a terminal condition of stage 5 myasthenia gravis, pretty much almost a
What
shutdown
is
or the
stage five? What?
deterioration. Myasthenia gravis. It's the shutting down
What
of
is
your
that?
autoimmune system. So
Oh,
what that
that doesn't
means,
sound good.
I was not able to breathe. I was not able to use all 4 quadrants of my limbs. I was not able to eat on my own will. I was hooked up to machines for every fine motor and functional skill in my
Wow.
capacity. And the reason I truly believe this is because I didn't forgive our creator, higher source, whatever you believe, to take my mother in such suffering and agony. I was being what society says selfish. I was like, how could you do this to me when she was in pain? And so that grudge, if you will, that pain and suffering for over 2 years and plus, I would go to her gravesite, which was 45 minutes away from our home, day, night, rain, sleet, snow, state of emergencies. And I was deteriorating inside because of the toxicity of not forgiving myself and the situation at hand. And when we don't deal with situations at hand in the moment, yeah, we can push them under the carpet, absolutely. But at one point, truth be told, at one time or another, and most of the time it's out of our control, it will take a toll on our body. Because our Bob Proctor, the late great Bob Proctor of The Secret, he states, dis-ease cannot withstand a healthy, happy mind. And so when there's discomfort, when there's discord, when there's an imbalance, and when there's toxicity, have you ever been in a situation, whether it's your home, your place of work, place of friends, where you have to walk around eggshells? It is very draining. Your body gets all tense. Your stomach tightens. You don't feel like you have a great appetite. For those dependent conditions, those conditions exacerbate, whether it's smoking or drinking or binge eating. And to your point, Guy, yes, it does take a toll if we don't face it and regain the power back. Remember, anything we emulate, people can either defect or reflect. We are energy beings. So if I come into a
Yep.
room, I say, "Hey, Guy, how are you doing? You're good. You're positive. You can't say the word happy without a smile." But if I
True.
come in with ego-stricken attitude, or I stubbed my toe this morning and then I was late for work and then I dropped my coffee or whatever, it's a downward spiral that if you don't change your channel, your environment and toxicity will consume you, and that will impair your health. Think about it. Think about our environment, social media, the news, anything, music. It's all external variables that either can adjust your frequency. But what the beautiful thing that I learned is to achieve personal freedom is you have the choice to control what you allowed in your headspace, in your environmental space, and within your heart and soul.
Absolutely, absolutely. Two things you just mentioned there that I think is critical, because when we think about forgiveness, we often think you did something wrong to me, and I'm going to have to choose to forgive you.
Right.
But we rarely take that finger and turn it this way and say,
Yes.
maybe it was me
Right.
that did something wrong to me, and I got to exercise that freedom, that liberty to forgive myself. But then you didn't just do that. You then took this finger and you pointed it up, and you said, whatever the higher power, whatever however you want to look at that, you actually took this to the point that that individual or that entity might need forgiveness in and of themselves.
Absolutely.
For situations and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But I want to I really enjoy this topic. I want to dive into this a little bit differently than what you might have seen from elsewise. According to my perspective, you did such and such. My perspective might not be right.
Correct.
But according to me, you're the one that's to blame.
Right.
Is it possible? And how do you handle this within the whole liberty and forgiveness aspect? Is it possible that the one I'm choosing to blame, who I think is you, is actually not you at all?
Right.
But according to the way I understand things and the way that I'm putting it, it's you. And if I will take a moment to really look at the bigger picture, I'll find a totally different answer that I wasn't expecting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
how do
yes,
you handle that if someone's coming forward and they're coming in for counseling or what, they've got the wrong person on the hot seat?
right. Right. Well, that goes to a few levels, and I'm glad you brought this up. The first level is one of my mentors that I've learned from Dean Graziosi. You ask the question why 7 times. Well, it was my mom. Well, why do you think it's your mom? Well, because she did this. Well, why do you think she did this? And you go to the tiered level of 7, right? Now, that was just recently learned, but what I actually experienced personally was an individual was putting the blame on their mother, right? And so I said, okay, well, let's take a step back. Do you remember the incident? And we would go to vision, reflective communication, and reflective listening. And those, in that sequence and those timelines, it's going to help you bring the picture. Now, it's not always valid because of situations that it has plaqued in. Sometimes blackouts occur. Sometimes they just erase it from their mind wholeheartedly. But this individual was just like, I can't stand her. I've lost contact with her. This was this, and this. So I said, oh, okay. So we try to replay the reel in our minds, which we do every single step of the day. We're constantly, what if? Well, we're constantly challenging those reels in our mind. So I said to her, okay, well, if that was the case and they were able to kind of pin it down to a type of environment, a type of timeline, and age, I said, okay, well, what was exactly said? And there was a pause because this individual had told me already, but when we were peeling away the layers and drawing the vision and the code, they said, well, I really don't remember what they said. I said, well, let's go back. You had mentioned the last connection that they said that you were dumb, you weren't smart, you weren't pretty, you weren't worthy. And then boom, the individual is like, oh my gosh, that's not at all what my mother said. That's how I felt. She never spoke those words. I said, so then this is a delusion. This is a fabricated illusion of maybe of the behaviors that was portrayed upon you or the expectations that didn't meet your limits, whatever it was. But we were able to tailor it back to the actual incident or around the time for that aha moment that in the words were never said. This was their internal belief system stating, well, they said that I was, oh man, we're going to be late again. Oh man, can you just fix your hair? It was interpreted by the receiver. I'm not stupid. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. I'm not pretty. I'm not worthy. I'm not loved. And so that's why it's really key. I said the most powerful method between any individual and another is effective listening and communication. How would we do that? Reflective listening. So you're telling me you kind of play back what they say. So let me understand what you're saying. Is this what you said? Am I correct? Because again, you're giving that opportunity for that other person to clarify, edit, or say, no, I think you misunderstood. This is what I meant. And that's the beginning stages of effective communication and listening, is to really take a minute. Like you said, if somebody was blaming me for something, well, maybe I was to blame. Did I really take it that way? Well, this is what the person said. Am I really those things? Let me see. Well, I do get a little edgy and I do get a little judgmental and aggressive. And at times I do get defensive. So there may be a thin thread of truth, but the individual has, again, going back to why I'm a personal accountability coach, is the accountability and responsible component, finding the weight of it, and then let's go through the feelings of the emotions, whatever they be, to allow us to heal.
Understood. Now, as a personal, how did you put that?
A personal accountability coach. A personal accountability coach. Yes.
So, who do you, if you could choose out of all the different characters and people and whatnot in the world to work with, what is your creme de la creme? Like, this is what I really enjoy doing.
I love those people who are stuck, who have all the ideas of what they want to be and what they don't want to be, but don't bridge the gap of seeing their potential, that it is possible. Maybe what you do need is someone on the outside looking in, no judgment, no excuses, just results, walking beside you along that journey to say, hey, this is what you had said. I'll be your note taker, your bullet point, your goal setter. Okay, you want to achieve these goals? Great. But I'm not going to lead. It's not my life. I'm not going to guide. I don't want you to push you outside your comfort zone. I'm walking beside you as an equal, but has the capability to say, I've been there. I've done that. Let's take the right way. Let's take the path less traveled. And I know all the shortcuts and the loopholes to get you to where you need to be in a short amount of time because you're deserving of it.
So within that, so the people that are stuck, is there an age group? Is there like you prefer working with females versus?
Well, not really. I mean, I've oh, pardon me. You're breaking up a bit. Pardon me. No, I mean, I've worked with, young adults. I've worked with middle-aged adults and elder adults.
Is there? Okay, I'm not hearing you.
Okay, yes. I would say probably around,
okay, now
25 to 30, between 25 to 30 years old, men and women who have been there, done that, who have, tried the path of life, whether it be career-based, college-based, entrepreneurial, and just say, you know what, I know there's more on the other side. Let me find a clear direction, a clear vision to really be happy in what I'm doing every single day.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, well, how do these people that are stuck in their, early or, 30s, 40s, those, how do they reach out to you? How do they connect with you? How do they find
Absolutely. So in the name tag below is AndreaMasons.com, where you'll find all my media handles. Everything is there of where I'll be. And the best method of communication is really through either Facebook or Instagram. Those are really the homes that where I'm really flourishing. But again, everything is on AndreaMasons.com, and they'll be able to find me. And with every guest and every show that I do, I provide a complimentary connection, 30-minute connection with them as a gift of token appreciation to pay it forward. Because in order to excel in life, I'm all about integrity and authenticity. What you see is what you get, but I'd rather connect with you on a personal level, have a meet and greet and see where you're going, and then let you know how I can provide a service for you, and then we can take it from there. It's all about connection, communication. Absolutely.
So it's Andrea, Andrea,
Yes,
Masons, Masons.com.
correct. Absolutely. Yes. And there you can
So
connect
what's
with
that
me,
one?
and you can type in graceful touch so I know where you're from. Oh, pardon me. There was a delay in the connection.
No worries. So what's the one thing I have not asked that you wish I would have?
What is my mission as I build a legacy on this earth? My mission and message is to follow your heart, not the herd nor the hurt, for joyfulness, happiness, and success are on the other side.
So one thing I haven't asked, I really would like, how did you get on this pathway in the first place? I mean, did you just wake up at age 2 and it's like, this is where we're going? Or what happened?
Yes. So to play back, if I haven't mentioned it on here, I was adopted from Colombia during the cartel. My parents were unable to care for me and sent me to the promised land of America at 11 months old, where I only weighed 11 pounds. Well, that was the trickling point of a downward spiral. I was welcomed into an unconditional loving family. However, due to my differences, my different features, attributes, and so forth, I got bullied all throughout my life. From school, elementary school, middle school, and high school. Thrown into trash cans, thrown into garbage cans, shoved into lockers, and just never accepted. At the age of 8th grade, they said, what do you want to do with your life? I want to be the face of change for mental health. I want to break the stigmatism of abuse and bullying, that what makes us different makes us authentic. I enrolled in social work and psychology and obtained 2 degrees and provided over 2 decades of service. Boom, the world shut down, and I knew I could be more and do more. I enrolled in Dr. Les Brown's Academy and was one of his #1 alumna. And since then, when the world shut down, I have spoken virtually on every single planet, on every single continent, and have been a best-selling author of Amazon for an international anthology. I am in the process of publishing my own personal book and featured in several magazines and spoke as a featured speaker at the Latino Travel Fest in New York City. I am here, as Dr. Brown said to me, Andrea, 11 pounds of greatness they didn't know then, but they know now. Dream big and don't stop. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Dream big and don't stop. I love that.
Yes. Thank you.
I
Yes.
love it. So my name is Guy Severson. I'm with
Mhm.
gracefultouch.org. You can look that up for Massage in Rapid City, South Dakota, or you can go out to our product line of alternative remedies that have all natural, certified organic, plant-based, graceful touch products.org, or like, and Andrea here, I am also available on Instagram mainly, although I do have the other social platforms, and that would be as Pain Relief, the number 4, the letter U. Pain Relief for you. Now, with that said, and Andre, I'm coming back to you one more time
Yes.
for a golden nugget as to if there was only one thing that a person could pull forward from this entire talk, what would you want that one thing to be?
Absolutely. Don't let life's adversities create your identity. Create your own identity through the lessons and losses of life and be you.
I like that too. Don't let life's adversity
Mm-hmm.
create your identity.
Yes.
So just because you're in a particular situation, if I understand that correctly, just because you're in a particular situation, no matter how hard that situation is, that situation may define the moment, that situation may define what's going on at that time, but it does not need to define you as a person all the way through. Am I anywhere close to correct on that?
Bullseye. Exactly. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I thank you once again for coming to Graceful Touch and allowing me to share this moment with you.
Yes.
And you have any closing thoughts that you want to bring forward, or are we good?
Yes. Just finally, like I said, we have our greatest potential. One gentleman had told me this weekend, he was visiting a good friend of mine from Australia. He said he was told that, you only live once. And he said, let's change the perspective. Let's change the channel. We live every day. We only die once. So, and that's what's really key. It's all about perspective. Because if you have a positive perspective, you can have a positive outcome. It's all about how you interpret it and make sure you gain clarity.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you once again, and we look forward to catching up with you out on the socials.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And my Instagram is am@am.andreamasons, plural. Yes.